The dam will change Ethiopia, electrifying its cities and towns. But what about the 500,000 people who live downstream? We followed the river to find out. The road takes us down into the southwest corner of Ethiopia. It's one of the poorest areas of the country. Our destination? The town of Jinka, the hub for the tribal communities who live in the lower Omo Valley.
For weeks now, we've been talking to local NGOs concerned with the environment and tribal rights, and they've all been expressing the same kinds of fears. They say that the dam is likely to severely impact the environment and plunge the tribes into violent conflict. But none of them were prepared to tell us that on camera, because they say that if they do publicly criticise the government, they'll be shut down. Now, the government's been very helpful to us, but those fears are very deep-seated indeed, and they have effectively stopped public debate and put an end to public comment.
The Mercy is one of the most distinctive tribes in the lower Omo River Valley. They arrived here over 150 years ago in search of water, as their homelands further to the west began to dry out. They came with their cattle. The Mercy are pastoralists. Like all of the tribes here, cows define their existence. But over the generations, they've developed a sophisticated system of agriculture that's kept them alive in one of the world's most unforgiving environments.
The Mercy have an expression. They say it takes 3 stones to boil a pot. And for them, those 3 pillars are first and foremost the cattle, then there's farming using the river flood, and farming with rainwater. If you take away any one of those 3, the whole thing falls over. Mercy society collapses.
Each year the river bursts its banks, spilling floodwaters across the plains. Once the waters recede, farmers use this natural irrigation system to plant their sorghum and beans.
This kind of floodplain farming takes place all along the lower Omo River. And from here it's very easy to see the direct relationship between the height of the flood and the amount of land that gets wet enough to farm during the dry season.
The government is planning to create what it calls an artificial flood each wet season. It's promising to release water from the dam in a controlled and predictable way.
We are addressing the problems of repeated flooding that we used to face in the past years, and many people in downstream communities used to die, lose their property as a result of this flooding. That will be out of the way now.
But the tribesmen see that as a threat. Even the highest of floods helps water and replenish the more distant scrubland. The cattle herders rely on that to feed their animals during droughts. The tribes worry that any attempt to control the river will knock out the foundation of their farming system. The government's own Environmental Protection Agency admits there may be problems, but insists it'll be a small price worth paying.
We're not going to stay put where we are. Our life has also to improve. This is the most benign of choices, but as I told you, there is no human impact that is not felt by other species or by other people. Even when you walk, you kill many insects.
Further downstream live the Nyangatom. Like all the tribes, they struggle to feed a rising population from farmland and grazing that have been gradually shrinking. It's often brought neighbour into conflict with neighbour.
None of the disputes between the tribes would be anywhere near as serious if it weren't for the presence of so many automatic weapons. Each of the tribes is heavily armed, and none more so than the Nyangatom, who get theirs from over the border inside South Sudan. Combined, there's enough military hardware here to start a civil war.
After we arrive in the village of Kangatan, the elders gather for a meeting. They've heard rumours of a dam, but nothing official. Our translator explains what we know. I'm introduced to Kai, the most senior elder in the village and their most respected spokesman. He's angry that the government hasn't consulted his people. The meeting comes to one chilling conclusion. The Nyangatom neither trust the government nor believe its promises of help.